What do you do with US dollars today, Raoul? No more crypto.
I'm actually long US dollars because I think the dollar's going up because I think the world is actually slowing down again. So I'm long US dollars and long some bonds. And those are the only two other trades I've got in the world. And I've also got some carbon futures in Europe. So those are the only three trades I've got. The carbon futures is a fantastic long-term story that it's driven by the incentive system within the EU to raise the price of carbon, and these futures are directly linked to that. And then I'm long dollars and long some bonds because I think the world slows down a bit, and the rest is pretty much 100% crypto.
Mooch?
Well, we're basically more or less out of the bond market. We're reducing our structured credit exposure because of the lack of interest rates in that area, and we're in growth stocks actually. So I don't own dollars the way Raoul owns them, but I own a lot of U.S. dollar denominated growth companies.
Yeah, that underperformance, though, is going to end when the money printing that you're referring to unleashes much greater increases in prices for raw materials, consumer producer prices. So when we get into a very high inflationary environment, at least the way it's measured by the government indexes, then a lot of money is going to move out of those growth stocks into companies that actually earn money and pay dividends that can raise and somehow keep people above inflation. But what you're talking about when you own a lot of dollars because you think there's going to be problems, I mean, the reason people are buying dollars now is because they're anticipating this tightening cycle. But there isn't actually any tightening going on. All that's happening is the Fed talks about tapering. Maybe they'll taper a little bit, maybe they won't. What we know for sure is they're never going to get around to raising interest rates because long before they finish the taper, the market will tank, we'll be in recession, and the next round of stimulus is going to be bigger than what we had after COVID. I mean, the QE keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger because the bubble is bigger, the addiction is bigger, and so eventually these dollar rallies are going to get smaller and smaller because the tightening cycles are smaller and smaller, and then the easing cycles are bigger.
Even if you're right, let's say you're right, and let's give you that scenario out for the next 6 months. You still have to be long equities in that scenario because if you go back in time and look at inflation creeping into the market, not hyperinflation, but what you're talking about is maybe the Fed even suggesting they'd start to tighten. You're not going to get competition from fixed income or the dollar in its liquid currency until the 10-year has a 3 handle in front of it.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, Mr. Wonderful, Bitcoin or Ethereum? If I were to put a gun to your head and say, you got $100,000, you got to put it on one, you can't put it on both, you got a 3-year holding period, where do you put your money?
Bitcoin. It's the granddaddy. It's the institutional desire that most of the people I talk to, that whether they are speculating or not, want to establish compliance with their own groups at the institutional sovereign level with Bitcoin first. They're wrangling for 1% to 3%. I have this dialogue every day. They want to get through this whole ESG thing. We talked about that already. They want the compliance platform to market for their internal accounting and internal compliance and external mark to market when there's capital gains involved or not. Most of these guys, which I got to tell you is interesting, they're not considering it a currency. They're considering it a property. They're going to buy it, check the box on the ESG thing when they get a way to do it, which means they may have to mine their own, and then hold it in perpetuity just like they do, as Peter suggested, with gold. They have made that allocation. If they were 5% weighted in bullion, maybe they're paying storage, maybe they're using an EFT like GLD, whatever, but they want to own Bitcoin. So if you're putting my gun to my head, I would go long Bitcoin for the next 36 months. I think it'll beat the indices. I think you'll do better than 7 or 8% on it. Yes, it's going to be volatile, but I keep telling everybody, and I said it at Bitcoin 2021, when we solve it for them on compliance and ESG, Katie bar the doors, we're talking about $1 trillion worth of buying power. You want to see Bitcoin at 100,000? That's how it's going to happen.
Rich, Bitcoin or Ethereum? Gun on your head.
I'll keep it brief. Bitcoin.
Raoul, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Cardano?
Without question, Ethereum. It's by far and away the network effects are growing faster and deeper than Bitcoin, at, in fact, twice the speed. So it's growing at a dramatic pace. There are more applications. We've talked about NFTs. We've talked about DeFi. It's all on top of Ethereum. Will that change after 3 years? Possibly. But the network effects, and that's how you value these things, is the number of nodes on the network, the growth of those nodes, and the interconnection of those nodes is growing so much faster than anything else. It's just going to outperform. That doesn't mean I don't like Bitcoin. I don't agree. I agree with the store of value, the pristine collateral. I've made all of these arguments. It's nothing to do with that. I just think Ethereum outperforms, and my money's actually mainly in Ethereum these days.
Okay, Peter. So there's a gun to your head. You're not allowed to buy gold. The answer is you got to buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. You have to pick one, and you have to tell us why you pick the one you pick. You have to buy one. Which one do you buy?
Peter's going to buy the gun.
First of all, I might just take my chances on. I might just take my chances with the bullet. I mean, but look, I was gonna say, I was hoping all you guys were gonna go Bitcoin, so I could be the contrarian and go Ethereum. But it seems like it's split 50-50. So I mean, I guess if I was gonna gamble, because it isn't I think you're wrong. Bitcoin is not a store of value, because in order to be a store of value, you first have to start with value, because you can't store something that you don't have. So they're both speculative tokens. And I guess to the extent that they both keep going up for the next few years, probably looking at the charts, Ethereum is going to beat Bitcoin. So if I had to buy
as a
speculative token, but I think if they go down, Ethereum's going to go down more, right? So if they crash, Ether will probably crash more too. You'd probably agree with that. But if they're going to go up, and I'm gonna buy it and hope, then I guess I would take that one. But
there are some industries where 15 seconds is not a long time. In fact, it's very, very quick. Like Peter's industry, for example, if you want to send gold around the world and you want to send it in 15 seconds, sounds like it's very, very, very fast. So I think different chains will do different
I'm
things.
looking for a world where I can finally eradicate the FX trader that I've been dealing with for 30 years, who has clipped me for 4 to 6 basis points every time I change currencies.
Well, how much do you get clipped when you...
They add no value whatsoever, and I want them to shine shoes. That's their next career. They have clipped so much.
You're not trading crypto for free.
No,
people are making money off your crypto.
I'm just telling you, the future of all of this is to eradicate that waste and that friction and no value added. FX traders are
Bitcoin and
single-cell
Ether don't
amoeba.
do that.
They are single-cell amoeba. You find the FX traders at the bottom of the ocean. That's where they live. They're worse than lawyers. We got to get rid of them.
And by the way, you can't transfer your physical gold around the world. You can't transfer your physical gold around the world instantaneously, but you can transfer title instantaneously. It's very easy if you have gold stored with a third party to transfer your ownership to somebody else, and you can do it even quicker and less expensively than I can transfer my Bitcoin. And you have all these institutions.
I believe the fee on that, Peter, with the Swiss banks is 200 basis points. I'm not giving anybody 200 basis points.
Well, there are a lot cheaper ways to do it than that. So your bankers maybe are ripping you off. But
they're all
when you
they're ripping you off too. You just don't know.
That's their job.
But when you're talking about all these institutions that want to own Bitcoin through some intermediary, like a ETF. Well, if you're going to do that, well, then you might as well own the gold ETF. The selling point behind Bitcoin is you don't need a third party to store it. You don't have to pay to have your Bitcoin stored. But the minute you're trusting a third party and you're paying storage fees, you might as well trust something and store something that's real, like gold, as opposed to something that's imaginary,
what the
like
Canadians
Bitcoin.
solved for people that were at least on the hedge fund side, to stay compliant, they can buy the Canadian ETF. It costs them 40 basis points. They are completely tied to the volatility of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is held inside the Canadian ETF.
Yes, but why would they? But that's very different than somebody who would want to buy gold, because gold is stable and a store of value, and Bitcoin is highly speculative.
The way gold is owned,
I'm late for my 11, but promise to invite me back when Peter capitulates. Okay.
All right, you guys got a long wait.
I wish you guys great success. And Raoul, I'm like Owen Wilson in Wedding Crashers. I'll be knocking on your door next week.
Yeah, they're filming. They're filming.
Letting you in. Goddamn door, Raoul.
They're filming.
Letting you in.
They're filming Wedding Crashers 2 here in Puerto Rico. So
all right, you see that?
Doing it right now.
Guys, I wish you the best. Have a great weekend, guys.